Myth 1 says pirates were basically sea bandits without real ships, borrowing whatever floated nearby. That sounds clever, but it misses the brutal engine of piracy: capture, refit, rename, repeat. A pirate crew rarely started with a purpose-built warship. They began with opportunity: a merchantman, a privateer, a fishing sloop, or a stolen tender that could be turned against trade. The word ownership gets slippery here. Pirates often possessed ships violently, voted on captains, divided cargo, and sailed under illegal authority, but legal title still belonged to victims or states. So when someone asks whether pirates had ships, the sharp answer is yes and no. They had working vessels, but those vessels were usually captured assets, not respectable property. This distinction changes the whole image. A pirate ship was not a floating castle from fantasy. It was stolen infrastructure, stripped from commerce, weaponized quickly, and abandoned when inconvenient. This distinction changes the whole image. A pirate ship was not a floating castle from fantasy. It was stolen infrastructure, stripped from commerce, weaponized quickly, and abandoned when inconvenient. That is why prizes mattered so much. A captured ship was not just loot. It could become the next hunting platform, spare parts warehouse, hostage cage, or bargaining chip. Merchant captains understood the danger immediately. If pirates boarded, they might lose cargo, tools, cannon, charts, food, sails, and sometimes the vessel itself within a few hours. Crews adapted. Pirates also upgraded constantly. A slow hull could be robbed and burned. A useful hull could receive extra guns, more hands, lighter cargo, and a terrifying new reputation. Legality lagged. Blackbeard's famous flagship shows the pattern. Queen Anne's Revenge began as La Concorde, a French slave ship, before pirates captured it, armed it, renamed it, and made it notorious. That story is not an exception. It is the pirate business model. They did not need shipyards when the Atlantic delivered targets packed with timber, rigging, provisions, and guns. Ports like Nassau mattered because stolen ships needed shelter. Pirates needed places to careen hulls, trade stolen goods, recruit sailors, gather news, and vanish behind reefs. Repairs kept fear mobile. Nassau was not magic pirate wallpaper. It was a practical base near shipping lanes, shallow water, hidden inlets, and weak imperial control, which made stolen vessels harder to chase. The myth of shipless pirates survives because land stories are easier. We imagine raids, treasure maps, taverns, and sword fights, then forget the expensive machine carrying everything. Victims noticed. Without ships, piracy collapses. You cannot intercept Atlantic commerce from a beach, outrun a naval frigate in a rowboat, or threaten a merchant convoy with a campfire. Possession counted. Even small craft mattered. Canoes, periaguas, launches, and tenders moved raiding parties through shoals, carried messages, and helped larger pirate vessels work where deep ships feared grounding. Ships made raids repeatable. Pirates built networks of mobility. One large prize might anchor offshore, while smaller boats searched creeks, intimidated settlements, ferried water barrels, or scouted for sails on the horizon. Useful hulls became capital. Think of the ship as a moving workplace. It held weapons, food, stolen goods, navigation gear, prisoners, arguments, disease, repairs, and the crew's fragile political order. Secrecy began with movement. When pirates lost a ship, they lost more than transportation. They lost shelter, leverage, speed, storage, reputation, and the only platform that made their crimes scalable. Mobility made piracy possible. That is why captures were strategic. A crew might spare a captain if he revealed shoals, cargo values, convoy routes, or the handling quirks of a desirable vessel. The sea supplied replacements. Pirate ships were temporary by design. A leaking prize, a damaged mast, or a famous profile could become a liability, so crews switched hulls when survival demanded it. Escape depended on maintenance. This makes the truth stranger than legend. Pirates did have ships, but they treated them like disposable engines of opportunity, maintained intensely until the next advantage appeared. Stolen hardware drove expansion. Myth 1 falls apart once we follow the wood. The ship was not decoration around piracy. It was the crime scene, getaway vehicle, office, prison, and weapon. The pattern stayed opportunistic. Now the next myth rushes in. If pirates had ships, they must have wanted the biggest, blackest, most heavily armed monster afloat. History answers with a grin. Authorities chased moving targets. Myth 2 gives every pirate a floating fortress, bristling with cannons and theatrical sails. Real pirates usually preferred something less glamorous, a fast, shallow, responsive vessel that could choose fights. Big ships looked impressive, but impression could become a trap. More tonnage meant deeper draft, slower turns, larger crews to feed, and repairs that demanded rare supplies. Agility paid. Sloops became pirate favorites because they solved practical problems. They could hug coastlines, slip over bars, enter hidden anchorages, and accelerate away from heavier government vessels. Low draft opened exits. Schooners offered similar advantages. Their rigging could be handled by smaller crews, their speed suited sudden attacks, and their profiles did not always scream pirate from miles away. Camouflage mattered. A Spanish galleon loaded with silver sounds irresistible, but a giant hull could be useless to outlaws. Pirates needed maneuverability more often than parade ground firepower. Range altered the risk. The best pirate ship was the one that matched the job. Caribbean raiders valued shoal water. Indian Ocean hunters needed range. River attackers needed compact boats. Care bought speed. Armament was only one variable. A dozen guns on a nimble sloop could be more threatening than heavy cannon trapped aboard a sluggish hull with exhausted sailors. Function beat size. Pirates loved intimidation because cannon battles destroyed prizes. A merchant ship full of holes was less valuable, harder to sail, and more likely to sink before sail. Handling saved crews? So pirate violence often aimed at decision-making. Raise a flag, fire a warning shot, close quickly, crowd the deck, and convince the target resistance was pointless. Draft decided escapes. That is not softness. It is accounting. Dead sailors cannot reveal cargo. Shattered rigging slows escape. Burned supplies cannot feed the crew next week. Reef channels punish dramatic warships. Crews often stripped captured vessels selectively. They removed swivel guns, anchors, sails, tools, medicines, powder, food, and specialists before deciding whether the hull deserved a second life. Small profiles helped. The fantasy ship also hides maintenance. Wood swelled, seams leaked, rope frayed, worms attacked hulls, and tropical heat punished every surface not cleaned, tarred, or replaced. Shallows rewarded nerve. Careening was ugly but essential. Crews heeled a ship onto its side, scraped growth from the hull, patched seams, and turned a slow vessel back into a predator. Maintenance humbled fantasy. Growth below the waterline could rob speed quietly. Barnacles did not care about pirate legends. They cared about friction, drag, and the distance between hunter and prey. Deck space shaped boarding. Food storage mattered as much as guns. A ship that could not carry water, salt meat, biscuit, and spare canvas could not remain dangerous for long. Food stores set boundaries. Overcrowding made success dangerous. Capturing prizes brought new recruits, prisoners, and specialists, but too many bodies strained water, discipline, sleeping space, and disease control. A nimble sloop could rewrite pursuit. That is why some pirate captains commanded flotillas rather than one dream ship. Several vessels could scout wider, confuse pursuers, divide risk, and trap targets from multiple angles. Sails were strategic assets. A pirate captain choosing a ship was really choosing a balance. Speed, draft, guns, cargo space, crew size, disguise, and repair burden all competed. Pirates chose leverage, not floating monuments. Queen Anne's Revenge was frightening because Blackbeard used it cleverly, not because pirates always wanted massive flagships. Even that famous ship was grounded and lost in 1718. Water storage limited ambition. Many pirates sailed vessels that looked ordinary until they attacked. That ordinariness was useful camouflage in waters crowded with traders, fishermen, privateers, smugglers, and naval scouts. Clean bottoms created distance. The dramatic black ship belongs more to theater than logistics. Real pirate ships were patched, crowded, smoky, damp, fast when maintained, and valuable only while useful. Heavy cannon demanded compromise. The dramatic black ship belongs more to theater than logistics. Real pirate ships were patched, crowded, smoky, damp, fast when maintained, and valuable only while useful. Heavy cannon demanded compromise. Myth 2 fails because size was not the goal. Control of timing was the goal. Appear fast, strike fast, vanish through water where enemies hesitated. Repair burdens changed decisions. Myth 3 says pirate ships were drunken chaos with a captain yelling over everyone. Real pirate crews could be violent, but their survival depended on rules, shares, and consent. Merchant sailors lived under harsh discipline, low pay, and powerful captains. Pirate articles promised a different bargain: danger and illegality in exchange for voice and potential profit. Routine saved lives. Merchant sailors lived under harsh discipline, low pay, and powerful captains. Pirate articles promised a different bargain: danger and illegality in exchange for voice and potential profit. Routine saved lives. Voting did not turn a pirate deck into a modern parliament. It created a rough contract among armed men who could remove leaders if leadership failed. Rules restrained greed. Injury compensation also mattered. Losing a hand, eye, or leg at sea could end a sailor's livelihood, so some articles promised payment for wounds. Outlaw crews still needed administration. The ship's organization also protected theft from thieves. Stolen cargo had to be inventoried, guarded, divided, fenced, or exchanged before greed ripped the company apart. Paper made danger manageable. Imagine the deck after a prize: wet rope, shouting prisoners, loose weapons, broken crates, hidden coins, and exhausted raiders. Without rules, victory could become civil war. Votes limited captains. Discipline could be severe. Marooning, whipping, confinement, or execution appeared in pirate records, reminding us that self-government did not erase cruelty or fear. The contract could still be brutal. Yet the existence of punishments proves structure. Chaos does not write articles, assign watches, ration water, rotate duties, or negotiate how stolen goods become usable wealth. Rations force cooperation. Enslaved Africans faced especially complex choices. Some pirates sold captives, some incorporated black sailors, and some depended on the same violent Atlantic economy they claimed to defy. Punishment enforced bargains. The pirate flag did not cancel the world that produced piracy. War, slavery, colonial trade, insurance, unemployment, and naval demobilization all shaped who boarded and why. Procedure reduced internal war. After wars ended, thousands of seamen lost legal raiding work. Some privateers became pirates because the skills remained, the weapons remained, and peaceful wages looked miserable. Skill created bargaining power. Privateering blurs the line. With a letter of marque, an armed private ship could capture enemy commerce legally. Without it, similar acts became piracy. Power on deck was always negotiated. That is why authorities cared about paperwork. The same cannon, crew, and target could look like patriotic warfare or hanging a fence, depending on licenses and politics. Cruelty and structure coexisted. Myth 4 says pirate attacks were won by flags, cannon smoke, and screaming theatrics. Those tools helped, but the real weapon was information used at the right moment. Cargo set value. Pirates watched shipping lanes like predators studying trails. They wanted sail shape, hull size, national flag, waterline, escort distance, wind direction, and signs of valuable cargo. Papers became prey. Then came the reveal. The black flag, red flag, or warning shot was not mere theater. It was a calculated message about cost, mercy, and time. Fear bought minutes. Targets weighed choices quickly: resist and risk death, damage, and possible torture. Surrender and maybe preserve lives, paperwork, and a chance to testify later. Fear worked when the math agreed. That is why pirates avoided fair fights. Fair fights were for stories. Profitable fights were asymmetric, sudden, confusing, and finished before reinforcements understood the scene. Silence sometimes worked better. Boarding required choreography. Grappling hooks, small arms, cutlasses, grenades, and ladders mattered, but so did wind, swell, angle, deck height, and nerve. A surrendered prize was easier to sell. Cargo was not always gold. Sugar, indigo, cocoa, cloth, tools, medicine, spices, timber, and coins could all move through black market channels. Markets completed the crime once buyers appeared ashore. The treasure chest is a lazy shortcut. Most pirate profit looked like trade goods, ship equipment, currency, and human labor moving through illegal networks. Pirates studied weakness before showing teeth. Fear was part of that economy. A reputation for cruelty could shorten future fights, while a reputation for keeping promises might encourage quick surrender. The attack began before the flag appeared. Blackbeard understood reputation brilliantly. Smoking fuses in his beard may be debated in detail, but the larger strategy is clear. Terror could protect assets. Approach angle mattered as much as courage. Pardons were another weapon. Governors offered amnesty to split crews, gather intelligence, and convert dangerous sailors back into subjects before expensive naval campaigns escalated. The best fight was nearly decided beforehand. Cargo was not always gold. Sugar, indigo, cocoa, cloth, tools, medicine, spices, timber, and coins could all move through black market channels. Markets completed the crime once buyers appeared ashore. The sea itself shaped every attack. A shallow inlet could save pirates from a frigate. A sudden calm could trap them beside an angry prize. Boarding was the expensive part of intimidation. The best pirate attack was a system. Intelligence, approach, intimidation, boarding, sorting, repair, resale, and escape. Remove one piece and the system weakened. Good information made fewer cannon shots necessary. Myth 4 fails because flags and cannons were signals inside a larger machine. Pirates won by understanding trade routes, human fear, and the value of intact ships. False colors helped. That leaves the final myth, the one legends love most. Pirates vanished into stories, leaving only songs, curses, and buried treasure. The evidence follows the wake back to shore. Myth 5 says pirate ships disappeared into fog, leaving no hard evidence. In reality, Archives, court records, artifacts, wreck sites, and port histories keep dragging them back. Burn marks matter. Queen Anne's Revenge is central because archaeology meets documentary history there. The wreck near Beaufort Inlet connects Blackbeard's legend to ballast, cannon, anchors, and recovered material. Ports left shadows. Artifacts do not tell clean adventure stories. They show labor, shot, tools, medical items, rigging parts, galley remains, and the ordinary hardware of survival. Ports, patrols, and papers remained. Nassau's harbor adds another layer. Reports of burned and stripped wrecks match the logic of pirates erasing evidence after taking cargo, fittings, and weapons. A wreck can correct a legend. Burning a prize was not theatrical villainy. It could destroy ownership marks, remove witnesses to a hull's identity, and leave authorities guessing at the crime. Cleanup served survival later. Ballast stones, charred planks, cannon, musket balls, and clay pipes are not glamorous, but they are the fingerprints of maritime crime and daily life. Artifacts keep pressure grounded. Trial records matter too. Captured pirates, victims, governors, and naval officers described vessels, cargoes, weapons, injuries, routes, and articles while trying to survive legal consequences. Statements became maritime evidence. These sources are imperfect. Witnesses lied, officials exaggerated, newspapers sensationalized, and pirates destroyed documents. But overlapping evidence lets historians test myths against patterns. Legal records turn panic into evidence. One pattern is clear. Ships connected everything. A pirate's rise, reputation, profit, trial, and death usually depended on the vessel beneath his feet. The real ship returns through fragments. The buried treasure myth shrinks that reality. Pirates did not usually need secret islands. They needed buyers, repairs, food, ammunition, and safe harbors. Objects make the fantasy more accountable. Plunder moved fast because cargo spoiled, crews argued, patrols hunted, and money only mattered once converted into something spendable, drinkable, wearable, or sailworthy. History follows stubborn things left behind. Even famous captains were fragile. A grounded ship, a captured crewman, a lost mast, or a hostile governor could collapse a career built on fear. Recovered guns anchor stories. Bartholomew Roberts showed another version. His success came from relentless mobility across oceans, rapid captures, and crews able to keep vessels functioning through constant turnover. Trial testimony exposes operations. Anne Bonny and Mary Read remind us that pirate history is not only hardware, but even their fame depends on the captured sloop that carried Rackham's crew. Artifacts push back. The ship made identity visible. Without a deck, flag, crew, guns, and prize list, a pirate was just another desperate sailor with a violent plan. Visibility made prosecution easier. Authorities understood that, which is why they targeted bases, fences, pardons, and vessels. Destroy the infrastructure, and the legend stops paying wages. That is where the legend becomes measurable. The end of the Golden Age was not one heroic battle. It was pressure from naval patrols, legal prosecutions, changing politics, and fewer safe markets. Infrastructure slowly closed around them. By the 1720s, the outlaw system was harder to sustain. Ports became riskier, governors became less tolerant, and captured pirates became public warnings. Every artifact narrows the distance to reality. Yet the myth survived because it edits brilliantly. It keeps the flag, treasure, and swagger, then cuts the repairs, paperwork, disease, slavery, and accounting. Archaeology gives the wooden machine its weight. That edit makes pirates feel free from systems, when the truth is sharper. They exploited systems, depended on systems, and were eventually crushed by systems. Systems finally caught up. So, did pirates have ships? Absolutely. But most of those ships were stolen, modified, negotiated over, feared, exhausted, and disposable in ways fiction rarely admits. Reality stays much messier. The real pirate ship is better than the fantasy one. Not a magical black castle, but a living crime machine built from trade, fear, skill, and wood. Evidence gives it weight.